So, U2. I fell in love with U2 in 1979 or 80, whenever it was that I first heard U2's album Boy. And the interesting thing about their debut album Boy is that there are obviously distinct, I don't know what there are, like 10 songs or something like that, but the song structure is quite idiosyncratic, and there's a similar kind of a production and feel to a lot of the songs, a lot of reverb, a lot of sort of big sounding and echoey sounding production, and the songs blend into each other such that I didn't actually, even now, I can probably sing the whole or hum the whole album. I'm not going to do it to you, but I still have, even now 40 years later, I have a hard time saying which song is which, just because for me that whole album just flows like a river all the way through, and there's no one song just seems to, it's like one big song, and I just found it incredibly moving. So that was great. October, I thought was okay, and then War comes out in 1983. After there was an EP that I had and a couple other things that happened in between, but the next sort of full-length, long player was War in 1983. And this is another album that I just played and played and played. Because it's funny because they're not even that well known at this point. Their first two albums, kind of marked them out. They were followed by, kind of the, punk and post-punk and art rock sort of condescending, but nobody, U2 was not being played, by the fun crowd at high school parties and so on. They were very much a kind of a niche, in the know, kind of band through their first couple of records. That begins to change with War, and of course Unforgettable Fire, which had In the Name of Love. But then what happens is, this is part of the story of why I'm so conflicted, is Joshua Tree comes out, I guess in 1985, I guess it was 86, 85, somewhere in there. I had looked forward to I had played this album so much. I thought Unforgettable Fire I thought was just okay, but I was looking forward to the Joshua Tree like I haven't looked forward to an album since, I don't think, or maybe even before. And when it came out, I was so disappointed. It felt like a bunch of arena sing-alongs. I didn't like the production, I didn't like the songs, I thought something about Bono really started to piss me off. And I thought the videos, were all kind of, they were getting a bit smug and up their own asses, if you excuse my French. And since then, they've put out a few sort of okay tunes since then. But I sort of, so this is the only band where, and I'm, where I totally am the guy that only likes their early stuff and doesn't like the one they've become popular. But this is a different piece of work here, because this is a very accessible and ultimately, in retrospect, very popular album. But I would say it's before they jumped the shark, as it were, very much so, because this is, and this album, long story short, in my view, a far, far superior album to the Joshua Tree, which sold, I think, many, many more copies. This, to me, this is their masterwork. Everything from the songs, to the production, to the cover art, to everything about it. This is their masterpiece. So much so, I know this, that I don't have to make any notes for this, because I can just speak from the heart on this whole record. So first of all, the cover art. I mean, really, that's it's a wonderful photograph. It's an iconic cover. The photograph inside is actually kind of funny, because I always think, well, first of all, Bono is just starting to get really, well, I mean, he always had bad hair, but he's got pretty bad hair here. Edge actually has hair. And then Larry Mullen looks like a Soviet hockey player on tour or something. He looks sort of, he's not a short and squat kind of a guy, but he looks like some sort of a little short Russian dude off to the side. But there you go. There are 10 songs in the album, but they only give you lyrics to 6. Which I guess they are, they think are the best ones, but I'm not quite sure why they do that, but that's what they do. Anyway, absolutely classic record cover. This album also comes out at a moment in history which is which is very fraught because Reagan has come to power, Gorbachev has not come to power. So this is 1983. You have enormous anxiety about the arms race has started up again big time. There's enormous anxiety about Russian and U.S.-Soviet hostilities breaking out, and just generally a lot of anxiety about nuclear war. And I mean, I felt it. A lot of people felt it at the time. Just like Nina's non Sech Luftballon. This is one of the great sort of nuclear disarmament kinds of albums. Anyway, so I'm rabbiting on here. Songs. Well, side one is basically perfection, right? Sunday, Bloody Sunday, one of the great political songs, and what Bono achieves here lyrically, he doesn't always pull off in the future, which is writing a political song with lyrics that are not so blatant and obvious that it kind of becomes leaden. That you can write a political song, you can be clear what the song's about, but you can still be a little bit poetic in your descriptions, and it makes the song much stronger, much more powerful. They tread the line. They're in Ireland, and they're Irish, and they're dealing with subjects that are still, the troubles are still going on. It's still very raw. Bloody Sunday had only been a decade or so before this album came out. So they're taking risks by writing these kinds of songs, because there were all kinds of people that would shoot you or blow you up in Ireland at that particular point as soon as look at you, if they felt you were with the wrong side. So a brave song, a brilliant song, very good song. Seconds, which is a great anti-nuclear war anthem. It takes a second to say goodbye. The lyrics aren't quite, I think they're a little more kind of obvious, but still great song, I think. New Year's Day, this is a song I absolutely love. I think everything about it, there's just the imagery, there are things that Bono hints at. Clearly he's thinking about political movements and violence, but also peace. But these things are all, they're dealt with poetically. They're not sort of laid out sort of starkly. And it's almost secondary just to the feeling of the song. The feeling of the song, I think, is just so hopeful and so powerful that I could listen to the song again and again and again. You hear the opening piano notes, and you're transported. I am, at least I am every time. Like a song, this wasn't a big single, but it's another lovely song. It fits very well thematically and musically with those first three very powerful songs, and then Drowning Man. They had quite a few Christian songs on the first two albums, more particularly on October, but there's bits of it everywhere, popping up lyrically through the first two albums. This is the most obvious, I've always felt, piece of spirituality. It's quite beautiful. It's, again, there's no mention of Jesus or anyone of that ilk in the song, but I think it's very clearly a search for redemption, salvation, and it's a very spiritual piece. So side one, frankly, perfection. You could put that one side of that record up against any other side of any other rock and roll album, right up there with the very, very best album sides that I've ever heard. Side two is not as strong, but it has some real high points. The Refugee, I think, is okay. It's it's an attempt to do. It's a little bit raw. It depends very heavily on the drum beat. It's just okay. Two Hearts Beat as One, I think, is absolutely fantastic. And it's got a lovely little refrain, that very hummable, very, this is Bono at his best. It really is Bono at his best, that song. Red Light, I think, is a bit of a throwaway, frankly. It's the only song that I had to play again to remind myself of what it sounded like, because it never sticks too much in my mind. This is an album I probably played, at least 100 times. Surrender, beautiful song, very much harking back again to the powerful sweeping vocals and feel of the first side, and then 40, which again I don't think is as strong as some of the other songs, but it's pretty good. So side two's got two great songs and two okay songs and one sort of I mean, it never gets below, you know, like a C plus B, right? Frank, if you're gonna be crass like that and describe things that way. But it's not, you know, straight A's across the board like side one. But nevertheless, overall, this is, you know, this is an album. I mean, frankly, if somebody had never heard U2, this is the album I would start them with. I then tell them to go backwards and listen to Boy in October, and then dip cautiously into the anything post 1983, and certainly cautiously into anything where Bono was wearing the yellow glasses, you know. So, which is kind of, I think, the harbinger of doom as far as they're concerned. So, wonderful album. If you don't know it, I don't know why you don't know it, but listen to it.